If you wanna find me, yeah, I'm in the front row. Got my 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. It's the best place to be, I'm in the front row. Best place to be, yeah. If you wanna find me, yo, I'm in the front row. Got my 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. It's the best place to be, I'm in.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the In the Front Row YouTube channel. We are excited to be back. I am your host, Dylan, and my co-host, Danny and Paul, are along with me. And we have a lot of NFL to get into this show because week 3 just concluded about an hour ago since we were taping, or as we are currently taping, I should say. And the big game of the week was the Monday Night Football matchup between the Ravens and the Chiefs. And guys, Patrick Mahomes was too much for Baltimore as the Chiefs went to a perfect 3-0 on the season with a 34-20 win. Also 3-0 now, Patrick Mahomes in his career against Lamar Jackson. The next predicted rivalries not getting off to a good start for Lamar Jackson. We'll talk about that in a second. But guys, I'm sure you got a chance to watch the game. Danny, we'll start with you. Your reaction to the Chiefs winning in week 3 over the Ravens.
My reaction is Mahomes magic. I mean, that guy is just unstoppable. You were saying last show, you know, the Ravens D might be able to stop them. They're the #1 ranked D coming in, but the guy's just too good. He's unbelievable. I think we're already starting to take him for granted, like we take LeBron for granted. Just seeing him out there doing whatever he wants, slinging the ball deep, running for first downs. I feel bad for you and your Ravens because they got to go through the Chiefs at some point and in this next 10 years. So good luck to you.
Paul, we'll come to you. Your reaction, Patrick Mahomes was too good in Baltimore.
He was excellent. I think Baltimore just didn't play that game. And you could put it up for the Chiefs defense. They kept him inside, but they wouldn't let him do the things that he usually do. And it was out of his game. And so the Chiefs played well on both ends of the ball. And now they got a solid couple of running backs. It's going to be very hard, you know, to play against the Chiefs. And then now Baltimore got to get their confidence back. Their confidence when they play the Chiefs. Now, they might run through everybody else, but when they play the Chiefs got their number right now. There's been 3 big games and 3 Chiefs wins.
Yeah, definitely. There were a few problems. I remember last show I came on and gloating at the end of the shot about the Ravens defense and how they were the top defense in the league. Patrick Mahomes glided down the field. He might as well have been on an ice rink. The way he was just taking his offense on the field, it was embarrassing. There was a lot of miscommunications, and I was telling Danny this pre-show. There was a lot of miscommunications in the Ravens defense where they play a lot of man-to-man coverage heavily, and they would miscommunicate and guard the same. 2 of them would guard the same receiver and then leave Travis Kelce open down the middle. And if you're facing Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, you can't make those mistakes. You can't make it easier for him. He's already probably going to tear apart your defense, and you can't make it easier for him. Another key drive was when Baltimore was down by 14 and Lamar Jackson got sacked twice on 2nd and 3rd down. And all of a sudden it became 4th and over 20 yards. It'll be 4th and 24 or something. Yeah. And the field position was just outrageous. It was just a lot of plays like that where they just didn't play well. They played sloppy in the first half. They had a few bad penalties in the first half and took forever to get going. Lamar Jackson, I believe, if I'm correct, had his career low in passing yards. I believe only 97 yards. He still had his team in the game. But just a lot of mental mistakes for Baltimore. They will play the Washington football team next week, so hopefully they'll have a chance to recover and get their game back. The Chiefs turn around and have to play the Patriots in week 4 at Arrowhead Stadium. So their schedule does not get any easier. The Patriots 2-1 after a big win over the Las Vegas Raiders this week. But I want to get your guys' opinion on this before we move on. What do the Ravens have to do when they're facing the Chiefs? Because Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, people are thinking this is the next great rivalry we've seen with Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and going back, great quarterback rivalries. But it's not a rivalry if one side ain't winning. What do the Ravens – I mean, I know they have to clean up their mistakes a little bit, but in your guys' opinion, if they meet in the playoffs in the future, what adjustments would you think Baltimore has to make?
I think it's important that they get off to an early lead. With this team, they're a great running team, so they you know, once they have the ball and they have the lead, they're really tough to stop because they can get chunk yards over and over again, and they can control the pace of the game with their run game. But when they're down and Lamar has to throw, it's a little tougher because they don't have the same weapons that Mahomes has. So Mahomes, they have, you know, Tyreek, you got Kelsey, you got, you know, Hardman coming up, you got so many weapons, Sammy Watkins, you even forget he's on the team. They're so loaded, and the Ravens don't have those same weapons on offense, so they need to get off to an early lead and just control the pace of the game with their run game, because or else the Chiefs are going to beat them every time.
Yeah, Paul, you agree?
I think, you know, first of all, maybe they need to do some trades and get some people on the ends that would spread the field. So Lamar has something to throw to and be able to hit. But you know, you look at Kansas City, doesn't he look like Tom Brady during, you know, the heyday of New England, when they just go to places and it be close and he hits those small passes, then hit a couple. But what's so special about that quarterback, he can throw that ball long at the same time and accurate. And so that he's a different player. Then if you come at him, he has the feet to move. It's going to be a great rivalry. I think, you know, Baltimore is going to look at the film and see the mistakes that they did. But Kansas City, man, Mahomes, I have to give it to him. He's that, you know, Tom Brady 2.0.
He's looking like it in his early career and still has a lot of upside and a lot of promise to go. He said before the game, or there was a quote before the game that came out, or that he said he's not even to where he could be yet. So that's scary.
Oh, no.
For the rest of the league, he still says he's learning systems and everything like that.
He's young.
Yeah, that's scary. Lamar Jackson also made a key mistake on a throw. So to Hollywood Brown, their top receiver, that could have been a touchdown. He kind of didn't put enough air in the ball. There were a lot of mistakes that Baltimore made to lose this game, I believe.
Andrews didn't pull that touchdown in.
Yeah, Andrews dropped a touchdown.
Just those fantasy points.
Yeah, their defense, the miscommunication, like I said, on the defense a few times. I think if Baltimore cleans up their mistakes, they can beat Kansas City. I think they're good enough. They have a good enough defense. They're well-rounded enough. They've catered around Lamar Jackson. Guys, we will see. Like I said, Baltimore goes to Washington next week.
But you know, that's scary. That's scary for Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Because if Baltimore has to play perfect to beat them, and Kansas City really didn't play that perfect. They played well. They played consistent. They were consistent the whole game. Mm-hmm. That's scary.
That is scary. Kansas City definitely at the top.
That and that's again how New England. You had to play perfect, all, you know, for 4 quarters and be able to get there. That's scary. That's really scary for the league.
Yeah, Baltimore's had a good history in the playoffs of beating good teams, including New England over the years. So hopefully, for me as a Ravens fan, they can make adjustments. Baltimore was their first time trailing this season against Kansas City. It took them 3 games, I believe. On the other end, the Jets are the only team currently in the NFL not to have a lead this season. So at least they're on the other side of that, guys. We are going to move on to the Rams. The LA team was in action. The Rams lost to the Bills this week, 35-32 for their first loss of the season. Buffalo moved to 3-0. Buffalo was up 25 in the game before the Rams came back and had the lead. And then Josh Allen drove down late in the questionable pass interference call at the very end, guided or helped the Bills to the win. I want your guys' opinion. I know the game isn't supposed to be placed in the hands of the referees, but here again we sit another controversial pass interference call, this time defensive to extend the Bills' drive. Was it pass interference?
I thought it was ticky-tack. I mean, nowadays it's like impossible to know, is this pass interference or not? Like even when they review it in slow motion 1,000 times, it seems like the ref within the broadcast says something different than the actual game, and sometimes and the announcers, it's all so confusing that I don't even feel like replay is worth it anymore. But to me, that's ticky-tack. I mean, come on, when the game's on the line in a big play that is deciding, you don't want the refs deciding the game, right? And I feel like it should have been, you know, the call there, and the Rams should have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, first of all, you know, the Bills have a real good team, and they got to learn how to finish the game. because you up 25. It shouldn't even been that close. They got relaxed. They're a young team. They got a lot of talent. They play well together. So it shouldn't even got that close. You know, it was, again, like you said, a ticky-tack call. It could have went any way. You know, just whose fan you are at that time.
As a Rams fan, for sure. I'm telling you.
So you go through that, but you know, I think the worst call ever in a game was the playoff game with was it New Orleans?
New Orleans, yeah.
Playing
That was
2 years
horrible.
ago.
I'll admit that. That was bad. That was bad.
Yeah, Ray Charles could have called that call. So it was really a bad call. But you know, like that again, the Bills is something that's going to be in the talks all the way through the year because they got a great team, but they got to learn to finish games. You just can't have a team come back from 25 and you get on cruise control. You got to learn. You got to learn.
Remember, Buffalo was up big against Miami as well. That was a game down the stretch in week 2. They were up big against the Rams. The Rams came all the way back. I do want to say sometimes that's the NFL. I understand it was a tic-tac call. It's definitely a questionable call. At one, by the rule, people were saying it was technically pass interference, but it shouldn't have been called. But remember, the Rams were on the other side of it in week 1 against the Cowboys. So sometimes you're on the right side. Sometimes you're on the wrong side of the call. The Rams and the Saints, when the Saints, that pass interference calls against the Rams, correct? When the Rams got the beneficiary of it?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. I'm not shaking the Rams anyway.
You guys can have this game. You should have that.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some. They're on the wrong end of this one, but I agree. Buffalo has to close out games better, especially if they're in a division race against New England, who is right on their heels despite, bringing in a new
I got to say, Josh Allen looks really good overall.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Like, I did not know that he had this in him. And especially if you're a fantasy football player, you're very happy with the selection of Josh Allen. And in real life, too, he's balling out. And I think he's a third-year player, and he's showing what he's capable of, and early on, and hopefully he can continue to show that.
The Bills have
but you could tell how he got gradually getting better.
Mm-hmm.
He was good when he came in, but he's gradually growing. So that's why the Bills. That's why the Bills are in the position that they're going to be in. They're 3-0 right now. Call here, call there, but they're going to be in the hunt. They're definitely going to be in the hunt.
They're going to be in the hunt. I said after week 1, I think they have a very good shot to win their division title. Obviously, it's hard to pick against Bill Belichick, no matter who. No matter if Tom Brady's his quarterback or not, Cam Newton's off to a great start. Again, the Bills beat the Rams, guys, 35-32 to move to 3-0 in the division. Josh Allen, 5 total touchdowns, still in the MVP race. Real quickly, I want to get your opinion on something, and then we'll wrap things up about the Chicago Bears, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the Chicago Bears. They played the Atlanta Falcons this week. Atlanta gave up their second consecutive 15-point lead. They blew another 15-point lead, guys, in the fourth quarter. Atlanta struggling, but I want to talk about Nick Foles taking over Mitchell Trubisky this week. Trubisky was benched early in that game. The Bears are 3-0, but there's a lot of still debate in the locker room. There's a lot of still figuring out. Or they lost a key offensive player, running back, to an ACL injury. Now they're changing quarterbacks after 3 weeks, despite being 3-0. Your guys' opinion, is Nick Foles, and he was named the starter for week 4. Is he going to be the starter the rest of the season, or what's your opinion on Chicago's quarterback situation?
I think there's no doubt he's going to be the starter the rest of the season. I think Mitch Trubisky's had ample opportunities to show what he's capable of, and every year he's been disappointing. And I feel like, this is from the beginning of the season, I was thinking that Nick Foles was going to win this job. And I always bring it back to fantasy because that's my main area of expertise. But that's why I was drafting guys like Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller. And you saw that once that Trubisky left the game, he was slinging the ball. All of a sudden, Jimmy Graham is a worthwhile player. He was getting them back into that game because he's not afraid to air it out. And Mitch Trubisky is more dink and dunk. And I feel like that you see it every year with the Bears. It seems like that offense is so just ordinary and just not exciting at all. And it feels like they can never, when they get behind, they're done with when they have Mitch Trubisky. But now with Nick Foles, they have hope.
Yep, remember
that. But he did it in Philly. He did it in Philly. He's that kind of quarterback. It seemed like I'll take the second role for a minute. Time he gets that opportunity, you can forget it. Yeah, and even though they were 2-0, and they had a struggle in the third game and Nick Foles came out. It's hard. It's hard as a quarterback, especially a young quarterback, to have subpar years before the last 2 years, basically, and then have a Nick Foles, someone that won, a championship, is your backup, and he's there for that reason. He's there for that reason. Time you slip, like time you make too many mistakes, they're gonna come and get you. So it's hard to play with that kind of monkey on your back, is per se. But he would be able to. I think he's a great quarterback. He got great size. He has a great learning. It might take him to go to the second string, learn a little bit more. He might have to move to another team. It might be a start. So I don't think his career is over. But right now, Nick Foles is that guy that I think is going to take Chicago, if they're going to go anywhere, to the next level.
Yep, remember, guys, the Bears drafted Trubisky, I believe, 2nd overall from North Carolina. So they invested a high first-round draft pick in him. And
who'd they take him over again? I forget.
I was going to look that up. I wasn't exactly sure.
One of them. And Watson.
Yeah. So there was a lot of people they took him over. I wanted to make sure of the right names, but it's going to be interesting to see moving forward. Ryan Clark, one of my favorite analysts, he worked for ESPN, and he was saying today that this could have been pre-planned from the beginning of the season. Once they brought in Foles, they kind of probably had the discussion and were waiting for the opportunity to give him the starting job. Remember, there was no preseason, so there was really no quarterback competition. That's something interesting. On the other side of things, I just want to say Atlanta, there's something that obviously has to be done there. They have the talent, and they are not winning, and I hate to call for people's jobs, but I think it's time to move on from Dan Quinn.
How long is the Super Bowl hangover supposed to last?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I like that. It's like maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, but it's like they can't get over that. They can't get over it.
That was a big drink right there. That's pure alcohol they had. That hangover is serious.
They've been mediocre since the Super Bowl.
But they can't hold on to a lead is the thing. They can't hold on to a lead. And that's what kills them, is that every time they got a big lead, they feel like they're under more pressure, and they get away from their game, and they lose because they panic. They panic now, and that Super Bowl's in the back of their head, and they need to get it out and move on.
Yep,
what y'all think about the Dallas-Seattle game? That was a great game.
I thought, Russell Wilson. Go ahead. Yeah, amazing.
Both of them came, I had to give it up for Seattle's defense. Dallas, they playing too close. Everything they do is close. You don't even know. You got to be into the game to the very end with Dallas. I mean, they have the talent. They have they have everything, but they just, again, that was one of those teams can't get over the hump. Mm-hmm. I thought it was just Tony Romo, but goodness gracious.
It's that Clippers, and then also Dylan. What did I say a couple shows ago? Chargers. Every time they get kicked every single time, and they had it. They had the win. Keenan Allen had the ball. All you had to do was take his time with the pitch back to Eckler, and he would have just walked right into for the touchdown. But he rushed it a little bit, and it seems like that's always the case with the Chargers and the Cowboys and the Falcons. And they just, I don't know what it is, but they need to get their S together.
That play was going to work at the end of the Chargers game. I did see that. I do want to say on the Falcons side of things, I think it's time maybe to move on from Dan Quinn. I know finding a head coach isn't going to solve all your issues, but you're going to have to do something there. In Atlanta, back to Mitchell Trubisky, his draft, I want to read some of the players that he was taken over. Jamal Adams, who now is on the Seahawks, was drafted by the Jets. Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Marlon Humphrey is an All-Pro. Baltimore took him in the first round. There's a lot of players that they invested in Mitchell Trubisky. We'll see. Moving guys, we're going to have to –
And they traded up to get him too, right? They traded up.
Yep. So they got that second pick to get him, and now they're starting. That's what happens in the NFL. Sometimes your draft picks – I mean, his career is still young. Like we said, maybe he needs that motivation of being benched. He's teamed to take it in as positive as a way as you can. We'll see if Trubisky can get it together. And, guys, let's keep in mind, Nick Foles is injury prone. He's not the most durable quarterback. He tends to get injured, so Trubisky might have another shot. By the end of the season, the Bears are 3-0, but there's a lot of questions. In Chicago, we're going to do some NFL shout-outs on our theme show here because we're going to wrap up. Obviously, we'll have another show next week about week 4 because there's a lot of big matchups. Danny, we'll start with you. Do you have an NFL shout-out in mind?
Let's see. I can shout out Russell Wilson. I think that, he a lot of times doesn't get the MVP talk. I don't think he's gotten an MVP vote, if I'm not mistaken, but he definitely deserves it. I mean, the guy, everyone talks always about the exciting players, the Mahomes and Lamar, like we were, because they're fun to watch, they're exciting, but Russell Wilson gets the job done in big games over and over again. Russell Wilson makes the throws. He's accurate. Maybe he doesn't have the most cool personality that people don't like, or I don't know what it is, but Russell Wilson is an amazing football player, and he's off to an incredible start. I think he has the record with 14 touchdowns in the first 3 games, already passing Mahomes with that record, and there's no reason that he won't continue it. He's got the weapons with Lockett. DK Metcalf is really coming into his own already. He's going to be a beast in the league for a long time. And they had an injury to Chris Carson, and he's going to be out for a week or 2 maybe, but it doesn't matter. Russell Wilson can carry this team. He's that good. And they got the USC coach, Pete Carroll, there. Yep. So, yeah.
Remember, Russell Wilson went from a third. He was supposed to be the third, like, on the depth chart when he got drafted. Then he started. He won the starting job. He was, quote-unquote, a game manager in his career. They relied heavily on the Legion of Boom, their defensive running game. And he is now – he is – a top 5 quarterback and elite quarterback in the NFL. He set a record and has Seattle hot through the first 3 weeks. Paul, your football shout out.
Well, I want to add on to the Russell Wilson thing. He has all that talent, like all the rest of the guys. He's accurate. I think now people are recovering from the Super Bowl. That's what really, I think, hurt his popularity, because everybody know that they should have ran that ball.
Yeah,
and then they made a choice to throw it at that time, and he got the interception. It was a great play. So I think he was still pop, but it's coming back to see just how, people like, okay, whatever, because of that play. And now he's overcame that and been steady all the way through. So I think that's the reason why they don't talk about him as much, but they are talking about him much more now than a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I want to give a shout out to the defense of Seattle. So we're standing there, because they had to really lock down Dallas. They were coming back at the end of that game, and it was a real good game. But I think Seattle's defense really played hard, really played great. One other shout out. I have to shout out to my Steelers. I'm a Steelers fan.
Yeah, there it is. You're the number 1 in the division over the Ravens now, right?
Hey, we number 1 right now, and they got that Kentucky running back. Oh, we doing great. We doing great.
I am not worried. I told you, the Steelers, their schedule has been not impressive the first 2 weeks. I want to see when they play a legitimate team, and then I may worry. As a Ravens fan, I'm not worried. Guys,
Who did they play last week? Who did they play Sunday?
They played the Texans, but Deshaun Watson has nobody around him.
But you got to admit, Big Ben looks good. Big Ben looks good. The offense looks great.
And we got 2 Watsons on our team too.
You never know.
They're going to be tough. They're going to be tough for your Ravens.
I'm not concerned. I'm really, at this point, after week 3, I still think the Ravens are a heavy favorite to win that division. Obviously, it's going to be Baltimore and Pittsburgh, because we've seen what's going on in the other 2 guys. The Browns may turn around. You never know.
Away Cleveland, right? Just right. They're 2-1. They're in it.
Danny.
Yeah. No Cleveland talk.
No.
They can run the ball.
Let them get 500 or less, and they'll be okay.
It's a difficult division. My shout-out is going back to Josh Allen. I've already shouted him out once on this show. Through 3 weeks, he has looked like an MVP candidate. I know Russell Wilson is the leading candidate for MVP right now and definitely deserves it. But Josh Allen, if you had to pick someone right there, I think he's right there. He had another 5 total touchdown week. He's really – Buffalo, you've always – the quarterback the quarterbacks have always been questionable in franchise history before Josh Allen for the past few years. And he really came in and gave them a hope for a franchise quarterback, and now he is their franchise quarterback. And they're a well-rounded team, guys. They need to mature a little bit. They do have playoff experience. Remember, Josh Allen has been to the playoffs. I think they'll be dangerous in the AFC.
And Josh Allen is tough. He not only does he, I mean, he takes hits on the defenders. He's laying people out as a quarterback, and it's fun to watch. It's rare to see a guy just running around, and he's doling out the punishment rather than the other way around.
That's what I'm saying. Guys, we have to wrap it up, but we'll have plenty more NFL talk throughout the season. So stay tuned right here on In the Front Row. Hit that notification bell and subscribe so you can get all of our NFL. We'll do weekly recaps for you of the biggest storylines and the biggest headlines. We usually don't agree on things, so it's a great show to watch. Go ahead and follow us on social media at In the Front Row LA as well. Guys, thanks for joining me. I am your host, Dylan. We'll see you next time.
You wanna find me, Joe? I'm in the front row. Got 2 tickets on me, I'm in the front row. The best place to be, I'm in the front row. So what's colder than ice and even hotter than a flame? I'll be in the front row, chilling out.